Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. We are taking a moment to look at the latest allegations coming at Puff Daddy, and that's more proof that where there is Puff, there is smoke, and where there is smoke, there is most likely fire. This time it's coming from his former girlfriend, Cassie.
Hey, y'all, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I was in a dark place for a few years, you know what I'm saying? And I have to give a special thank you. Shout out, thank you. Yeah, and also Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. Love.
Her stage name, Cassie, she is making some of the most damaging allegations out there. Her legal name is Cassandra Elizabeth Ventura, and she is saying a lot. And of course, Diddy will fight this. In a 35-page document, Cassie is arguing that she did a lot of things against her will with Puff Daddy. They're horrible allegations. And you know that Puffy is going to fight this. He will fight this by saying that Cassie was a willing participant. And to be honest, many couples get down the way that Cassie is alleging that she got down with Diddy, but she says it was against her will. It was under duress. It was under stress. It was basically not consensual. I know that y'all not babies out there listening to this, and you know that people are wild out there, and a lot of people are wild and loose. Cassie's allegations against Puffy include physical assault as well as sexual assault. And I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for Cassie to prove these allegations. And most of the allegations involve the way that she got down with Puff Daddy. Now, any type of physical abuse, Cassie can prove it. I think it's going to be a lot easier. Even the Kid Cudi incident with Kid Cudi's car blowing up, that is also included in the document. I don't think that's going to be so easy to prove. But if anyone can corroborate or prove that she had wounds to her body and any kind of text messages or whatever, yeah, that's going to play well in court for Cassie. And Diddy has already refuted these claims. Even the Kid Cudi incident with Cudi's car exploding, Cassie claims that Puff Daddy is responsible for that, and he at least commissioned to have that done. That also won't be easy to prove because she's kind of like saying it after the fact. And Puff Daddy has already vehemently refuted these claims. He says they are bogus. He didn't do them. He says it in the strongest of terms. And of course, you know, Diddy is lawyered up to the nines. He's not going down without a fight. But Puff Daddy has a lot to fight right now. He's arguing a lot of allegations. And when you pile all this stuff up together, it does not look good for Brother Love, Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him. Almost every time Puff Daddy's name comes up in the last couple of years, most every time it's about something scandalous. Even when he got his Lifetime Achievement Award from BET, he mentioned Cassie's name when he was going down the list of people that he wanted to thank. And they're actually including that in the document as proof that Cassie endured so much over those years.
Hey, y'all, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I was in a dark place for a few years, you know what I'm saying? And I have to give a special thank you. Shout out, thank you. All that love. I gotta give a special thank you to the people that was really like there for me. Bishop T.D. Jakes, my chief of staff, Christina Coram, KK, Lorianne Gibson, keeping me free. Yeah, and also Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. Love. And once again, I gotta thank Harlem, Boogie Down, Bronx, Queens, Mount Vernon, all of New York. Yes, I'm gonna wrap this up, y'all. I'm gonna wrap this up, but if I gotta pay for the commercials, hit me with the bill, I got it.
Okay, so you heard that, and a lot of people will say that the reason why, especially Cassie's attorneys, the reason why Puffy mention Cassie is because behind the scenes in recent months, years, Cassie has been coming at Diddy saying that she's gonna sue. She's been making legal pressure. So Puffy's trying to, I guess, save face publicly, at least putting out some goodwill for himself, that I confess that I did some dark things, and actually a lot of people do. So my heart goes out to Cassie. We will get to the criminal complaints, but Cassie herself has been heavily criticized for not really being strong with the talent, with the singing and the stage performance. She came into the recording business with her boyfriend, producer, and label owner, Ryan Leslie. Now, he produced the song that really became a hit, and he produced most of her first album. He produced Me and You with his own record label, Next Election. But after a couple of years, when he hooked up with Puff Daddy to do a bigger venture, to get Puffy with that big money backing, they pushed him to the side. Puffy got Cassie supposedly to dump Ryan, and then Kanye West and Pharrell became her producers. Now, Cassie is famous for doing a couple of not good performances. Some people call them horrible performances on BET and on 106 and Park, respectively. They were terrible performances. The vocals they just weren't there. They were just absent. And she's accused of just, getting in the door because of her looks, which a lot of people do. But Cassie just really had very little stage presence. And Cassie even took to MySpace. This was in the MySpace days. Cassie took to MySpace and apologized for her lack of stage presence. And Diddy apologized for her and said he's working with her. But today is really about the allegations that Cassie has launched at Puffy. And I will get to those allegations, but I will say at least her coming forward, talking about the horrors of her time being at Puffy's side, might make a lot of these girls out here think twice before they jump at the chance of being bankrolled by some dusty. And I'm saying dusty, it doesn't matter that Puffy has money. He's way older than her. And he took advantage of his celebrity, which a lot of people do. I don't even know if that's a crime, but getting a person to do things that they obviously do not enjoy, just because you're powerful and just because they feel maybe subservient to you, it's just really not cool. It's dusty behavior. It's stank. It's wrong. And no, Puffy, no, Diddy. But I will also say, if Puffy was a plumber, I don't think Cassie would have made herself available to be used in that way. People like to say, oh, I was young and I needed the money. But come on, most of the time, this is just really has a lot to do with people just wanting to be in a certain lifestyle. They want to be in that Hollywood lifestyle. It's about that lifestyle, but is it really worth it? Let's look at the charges. And I know people already looking at this, asking the question, why did it take her so long? I don't want to victim blame. I'm not victim blaming, but that is an obvious question. And there is the claim that he had power over her career in her life. He was a dominant force in her life, and he had a lot of power over Bad Boy Records, and he had power over his artists, but he did not have power over the world, and he didn't have, and I didn't see any claims of Cassie being chained up against her will. The document reads, United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Cassandra Ventura plaintiff versus Sean Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Records, Epic Records, Combs Enterprises LLC, and DOE Corps 1 through 10 defendant. And there is a complaint and a jury trial demand. This has a trigger warning on it. I'm not going to read all of it, but plaintiff Cassandra Ventura, Ms. Ventura hereby alleges as and for her complaint against defendant Sean Combs, Mr. Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Epic, I already did all that, as follows the preliminary statement. 1. Defendant Sean Combs is a rapper and record executive popularly known by his stage names Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or Diddy. They forgot Brother Love. He rose to prominence in the music and entertainment industry over the decades and is regularly referred to as a hip-hop mogul. In 2022, Mr. Combs received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards. During his acceptance speech, Mr. Combs stated, "I have to give a special shout out, thank you, love to all the people that was really there for me." He named a number of people before adding, "and also Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. Love." For Miss Ventura, the dark times were those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and trafficking, I'll just say. Among other violent and unlawful acts, Mr. Combs sexually assaulted Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, often punched, beat, kicked, and stomped on Miss Ventura, resulting in bruises, burst lips, black eyes, and bleeding. Blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. Forced Miss Ventura to engage in acts with male, let's say male street workers, while pleasuring himself in filming the encounters. Another count, ran out of his apartment with a firearm in pursuit of a rival industry executive whom he learned was nearby. That would be Suge Knight. Introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse, required her to procure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own addictions. Miss Ventura met Combs in 2005 when she was 19 years old and he was 37 years old. He signed her to his label, Bad Boy Records, and within a few years lured Miss Ventura into an ostentatious, fast-paced, and drug-fueled lifestyle and into a romantic relationship with him. Her boss, one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, and a vicious, cruel, and controlling man nearly 2 decades her senior. Now, what they don't mention in the complaint is that Cassie was in a relationship with Ryan Leslie at the time, who was her producer and record label owner, which I've already stated, and that Puffy was also in a relationship with the mother of his children. So in reality, Cassie was already in the entertainment game. She was already making strides by herself before she met Puffy, and really nothing substantial happened with her music career after she got with Puffy. Nothing. I mean, she was, of course, living that lifestyle. She was around a lot of entertainers, but as far as launching her career, it was just really more promises than anything, and a lot of parties and that lifestyle. Mr. Combs asserted complete control over Mrs. Ventura's personal and professional life, thereby ensuring her inability to escape his hold. Provided unprecedented avenues for success for the aspiring artist, but in return demanded obedience, loyalty, and silence. Throughout the relationship, Mr. Combs was prone to uncontrollable rage and frequently beat Miss Ventura savagely. These beatings were witnessed by Mr. Combs' staff and employees of Bad Boy Entertainment and Mr. Combs' related businesses, but no one dared to speak up against their frightening and ferocious boss. Following these episodes of horrific abuse, Mr. Combs would immediately attempt to hide Miss Ventura and the evidence of this violent rage. He often showered her with gifts following incidents of physical violence, a typical pattern of behavior by serial abusers. 8. In addition to the physical assaults, Mr. Combs frequently reminded Miss Ventura of his ability to cause serious harm, whether by requiring her to carry his gun in her purse or by blowing up the car of a musician that was romantically interested in Miss Ventura. 9. Adding insult to injury, Mr. Combs used illegal substances and threats of violence to force Miss Ventura into repeated unwanted sexual encounters with male sex workers. Over the years that Mr. Combs abused Miss Ventura physically and sexually, she again and again tried to escape his tight hold over her life. Every time she'd hid, Mr. Combs' vast network of corporations and affiliate entities found her. Those who worked for Mr. Combs' companies implored her to return to him. Many went as far as to explicitly state that her failure to return to Mr. Combs would hinder her success in the entertainment industry. Just threats. 12. Mrs. Ventura has now fully escaped Mr. Combs, but the harm that the assault and abuse he caused her to experience for nearly a decade will forever haunt her. She has required intensive medical and psychological care to recover from the trauma she lived through. 13. She cannot, however, continue to live in silence about what she endured. Mr. Combs remains immensely powerful and immensely dangerous. Mrs. Ventura therefore seeks justice for the decade of her life that Mr. Combs took away from her with threats of violence, excessive use of drugs, physical and psychological abuse, and sexual slavery. Can't get around saying that. Accordingly, Ms. Ventura brings this action seeking injunction, declaratory and monetary relief against defendants in violation of federal sex trafficking laws. And they cite 18 USC section 1591 of the New York State Human Rights Law, New York Executive Law, section 209. Okay, goes on. The New York City Human Rights Law. Okay, it cites all of these things. They're written, they're statutes. I'll just skip to this part, 24. Teenage Miss Ventura meets middle-aged Mr. Combs as her career begins. 24. Miss Ventura met Mr. Combs in late 2005 or early 2006 after Mr. Combs heard Mrs. Ventura's first single playing in a club and expressed interest in signing her to his label Bad Boy Records. 25. At this time, Miss Ventura was 19 years old. Mr. Combs was 37 years old. Within months, in February 2006, Miss Ventura signed a 10-album deal with Mr. Combs' record label. But they don't mention, again, her boyfriend that she was in a relationship with and actually had already recorded with his label. Mrs. Ventura's first album, Cassie, was released in August of 2006, debuting at number 4 on the U.S. Billboard 200. To promote the album, Miss Ventura made television appearances on MTV's Total Request Live and BET's 106 in Park. Miss Ventura suffered from significant performance anxiety during these appearances, and press outlets were highly critical of Miss Ventura's performances on these shows. Mr. Combs, however, sought to rehabilitate his newly signed talent, telling MTV News, "You could hear the nervousness in her voice. And to be honest, I kind of smiled at it because it made me really appreciate what I really love about her. She's a regular person. It just made me appreciate that she got nervous, and it was kind of cute to me, to be honest. You've got to understand that success for her is coming out of nowhere. It's just so huge, and sometimes everybody handles it differently." While clearly paternalistic in noting that it was cute to him how regular Miss Ventura appeared, Mr. Combs' comments rang true to some extent. Upon signing with Bad Boy Records, Miss Ventura was quickly thrust into the spotlight and was unfamiliar with how to navigate her new celebrity status. Mr. Combs' recognition and glorification of Miss Ventura's naivete proved to set the groundwork for his manipulative and coercive romantic and sexual relationship with Miss Ventura, a woman nearly 2 decades his junior. Within a year of signing with Bad Boy Records, Mr. Combs became deeply entrenched in Miss Ventura's life, almost immediately asserting possession and control over her, and inserting himself into all aspects of her career and personal life. In November of 2006, Mr. Combs invited Miss Ventura to perform his song Come to Me along with him at MTV Europe Music Awards in Copenhagen, Denmark. After rehearsal for the performance, Mr. Combs walked around in a robe with a drink in his hand, flaunting his lavish party lifestyle to his label's newly signed artists. I remember that. During hair and makeup leading up to the performance, Miss Ventura's hairstylist and Mr. Combs' makeup artist told Miss Ventura that Mr. Combs was interested in Miss Ventura. Miss Ventura shrugged off the gossip and in fact expressed disgust given the large age gap between her and the president of her record label. Now let me just say, I haven't even seen that video in years, and what I saw between them was flirtatious. It disgusted me, and if I saw that, I know her parents had to see that, and that energy that they were throwing each other on stage, I thought, what is this? What is this? This better not be happening. This better not be what I think it is. And it was what I thought it was. Although Miss Combs knew that Miss Ventura was in a relationship at the time, and even though he was publicly in a relationship with Kim Porter, Mr. Combs nevertheless pursued Miss Ventura. At an after party in a hotel suite following Miss Ventura's 21st birthday party, Mr. Combs pulled Miss Ventura into a bathroom and forcibly kissed her. Miss Ventura did not consent to this unwanted contact. She immediately ran out of the bathroom and hotel suite and cried. She told her best friend at the time about what had happened, but was too scared to tell anyone else. People would argue that she didn't want to rock the boat. You know what? I don't even really want to get this far into this because people, if y'all want to read this or listen to somebody read this, y'all can do this, the whole thing, 35 pages. 35 pages, that's almost a book. She may as well write a book. And actually, her filing charges, making this complaint against Puffy, will probably help her to be protected in the case of a book or Netflix series. Mrs. Ventura, this is page 20 now. Miss Ventura tries to escape Mr. Combs' abuse. Anytime she tried to create distance between her and Mr. Combs, he used his networks to find her and convince her to return to his abuse. On multiple occasions, Mr. Combs sent his employees to lure Miss Ventura back. In 2011, during a rough patch in Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura's relationship, Miss Ventura had a brief relationship with musician Kid Cudi. When Mr. Combs returned from a trip, he demanded another FO of Mrs. Ventura. She acquiesced. Now, FOs are freak-offs, or he would call it another way. So she was... During this freak-off, Mr. Combs found Miss Ventura's phone and found emails between her and Kid Cudi. Mr. Combs became enraged and proceeded to place a manual corkscrew between his fingers and lunged at Miss Ventura. Soon thereafter, one of Mr. Combs' staff members told Miss Ventura that he needed to just talk, even though Mr. Combs was enraged. Feeling like she could not escape Mr. Combs and his network of enforcers, Miss Ventura returned to Mr. Combs. He hit her several times and then kicked her in the back as she tried to run out the door. She went to her parents' home in Connecticut, where her mother took pictures of the bruises Mr. Combs had left on Miss Ventura's body. In February of 2012, during Paris Fashion Week, Mr. Combs told Miss Ventura that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with friends when it happened. Around that time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. For today, I'm just going to stop right there. But as a mother, me photographing my child with bruises on her and being beaten by a man, this would not happen, first of all, if Puffy were a plumber. They didn't have any kids between them. There was no marriage, just a lot of promises about a lavish life. And I'm sure she didn't share with her parents. I would imagine she didn't share with her parents at the time about these freak-offs, but Cassie did experience a caring relationship. And I'm sure even if that relationship was not perfect with Ryan Leslie, I can't imagine that it got as wild as it did with Puffy. So she knew about the birds and the bees. She knew that she was in something dysfunctional, and for the promises that fame brings and all the trappings, is it even worth it? Is it even close to worth it? And you can be sure that some girl is watching this and watching all this play out and would step up to the plate and take this kind of treatment for the promises of fame, even for just the parties, the shopping, to run around in these circles. You know it. I'm really sorry. I think Cassie is living with some terrible memories, and the fact that she stayed through that, these things get to be normalized between people, and an abuser will just continue to walk all over you. And then it goes up to higher heights and deeper depths, and it really gets out of hand. I don't know why she didn't take a stand. You know, some women, this just would never happen. Day one, it just would never happen. There's a slew of reasons why a woman finds herself in this position, but it is never A woman that feels empowered, a woman that makes demands for what she wants in her life, this never happens. There's something broken in a woman that allows this to happen. Some women get captured, held captive, but this was not quite that. This was a rich, powerful man that could make things happen with her career and could give her a lifestyle that she can only dream of. So this thing really would have to be broken down page by page, but there's some pretty salacious stuff throughout these pages. It's just too much. I don't even want to use that kind of language. But Cassie, she's an obviously beautiful girl. I just look at her and think, all the stuff that's going on in the news, when is the next one going to come up? There's no end. If Cassie's story helps one young lady to just take a pause and think long and hard before you get entangled up with some man and let a man take control of your life just for fame, and put yourself in a vulnerable position, get sucked in by these men. And it can happen anywhere. It doesn't just have to be in the entertainment industry, but women, it's just a terrible thing when you feel that vulnerable and you think that that's your way out. You think that that's what you have to endure to make things happen in your life. You don't. You don't, and it's not even worth it. I think you can get yourself something to eat. I think you could find yourself some outlets for entertainment without doing all of that. And there's nothing really artistic about that. You're coming up in the money game. You're coming up with the lifestyle game. You're living a life that most people don't get to live. That she got. He was not invested in her career as a vocalist that way. This is going to be a battle royale because Puffy, with all the allegations coming at him, he's going to fight them all. He's not going to throw his hands up and fall out and start crying and going, yeah, I did it, forgive me. I mean, he'll probably admit some things happened, but he'll say that she was a willing participant. I don't know where you can draw the line with circumstantial evidence saying that a person was a participant or a person was a victim. How you prove that you were held against your will, that a man used his power and celebrity, yep, that's clear. Of course. I knew that wasn't cool with Cassie and Diddy. Actually, when I saw them preparing for his MTV show, I thought they already were intimate. The energy between them, I'm just like, oh, this don't look right. Please tell me this ain't true. But it was. And I saw some other things between them. Oh my God. But these girls, they get to a certain age, a lot of girls run away from home. You can't tell them nothing. They want to make their own life. They want to make their own way. They have power. She has, again, obvious beauty. She can turn heads and she's not scared to get on the stage. I think she was frightened of singing in that environment, but she doesn't have any problem getting in front of the camera and, dipping and swerving. She don't have no problem doing that. But hey, this is not the end with Cassie performing. And I'm just like, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing, Cassie? If that was my child, there with him, with Keefe D, Tupac, she's naming Suge Knight. She's talking about weapons. This is gonna hurt Diddy. This is just piling on. This is probably the straw that's breaking the camel's back. Anyway, I will be back with y'all soon. I think I might even go live with this. Thanks for joining me. Y'all, whatever going on in y'all life, if it's y'all some youngins out there, you keep living your life like it's golden. Like your life is gold. You are worth gold. No one with all the money in the world, it doesn't matter if it's a man or woman with all the money in the world, no one has the right to walk all over you just because they can do favors for you. Do not allow yourself to be used. It's not worth it. You see, Cassie is living with these horrible memories. It's just not worth it. I hope that reaches somebody, that'll be enough for me. Y'all keep living your life like it's golden. Peace.